I once fell in love with a female demon. When we broke up, we had a massive argument, so intense that it was beyond repair. I criticized her for being as cold as ice and stone, so I made up an excuse, saying I preferred warmer girls. Unbeknownst to me, she later became the Lord of the Underworld. To punish me, she forced me to become a eunuch, struck my name from the Book of Life and Death, and condemned me to never die nor be reincarnated, wandering the mortal world forever. She remained in the underworld, enjoying her supreme, peerless status, ensuring we would never meet again. But unexpectedly, 15 years later, an old brother of mine discovered the secret of my eternal life and my vast fortune. He sought out a Taoist priest to set a trap, plotting to kill me and cast me into hell. He pushed me directly from a tall building onto the ground, right into the formation laid by that priest. When I opened my eyes, I was standing before the gates of the underworld. Back then, I had dumped my ex-wife, who is now the queen of the underworld. She once said that if I ever dared to see her again, she would throw me into a vat of boiling oil and hack me 1,000 times. Thinking of that, my whole body trembled. I was truly finished. I hadn't even done anything wrong. Seeing me struggling and causing a scene, a mustached underworld guard pulled a spiked iron whip from his belt and lashed me hard. The pain pierced my very soul, causing me to collapse instantly. Unable to even let out a scream, he growled, "Listen here, I don't care who you are. Falling into our hands means your life is over." Compared to being pushed directly into hell, I wanted to take one last gamble. Perhaps my ex-wife still had a shred of old affection. What if she gave me a chance at reincarnation? Anything was better than having my soul scattered. Thinking this, I spoke with a trembling voice. "I know your queen. Her name is Nhu Yen. I want to see her." The two guards immediately looked at each other. Right after, I was kicked viciously in the back. This time, a crack appeared in my soul. I couldn't even make a sound. The mustached guard snorted with contempt. "You think you're worthy of saying our queen's name? I don't care how you found out that name, but you'd better behave if you want to suffer less." I had no strength left to resist and was dragged away like a dead dog. The other guard, who had been watching, suddenly hesitated. Could he be telling the truth? Have we caused a big problem? The mustached one didn't care and sneered. "What's there to fear? That priest said he's not a decent person, some kind of heretic not recorded in the Book of Life and Death. It's not strange for a trickster to know the queen's name. Look at how cowardly you are. If the higher-ups can't track him, we just follow the money. Hurry up, delays cause trouble." At this point, I understood everything. They were definitely in league with Chuthan and that old priest. I never imagined that underworld guards would dare to commit such despicable acts. Seeing the gates of hell towering into the clouds, my spirit sank into utter terror. I couldn't stand. As a guard chanted a spell to open the gate, my heart hit rock bottom. Just then, a voice drifted from afar, growing closer. "A newcomer? Has the trial paperwork been processed?" It was Hakvo Thuong, Black Impermanence. He recognized me. I stared at the figure emerging from the mist, opening my mouth to call out, "Old heck, it's me!" But a guard clamped my mouth shut and dragged me aside. Before my eyes, Hakvo Thuong was stopped by the mustached guard. I was so anxious I tried to jump, only to be kicked in the waist. The mustached guard pulled out a pack of cigarettes and smiled fawningly. "Brother Hack, what brings you here today? Try some of this new stuff from the living world. It's very good." Hakvo Thuong brushed the dust off his official robe with a displeased look. "Don't play those games with me." I asked if that little ghost has finished his paperwork. The guard swallowed nervously. Yes, of course. We wouldn't dare break the rules. You and Sister Bach are busy all day. Take a little break. Here, have a smoke to clear your head." Hakvo Thuong had quit smoking but still lit one. He said nothing more. The fog was too thick for him to see my face clearly. Fearing I would miss my chance to survive, I bit down hard on the hand covering my mouth. The guard let go in pain. I immediately ran toward Hakvo Thuong, but a kick sent me rolling. The guard's boot pressed firmly onto my face. Dust and sand filled my mouth. I couldn't spit or scream. Fortunately, the commotion caught Hakvo Tuong's attention. He stepped closer. "What's going on?" The guard I bit retaliated by stepping even harder, nearly crushing my head. "It's nothing. Just a stubborn little ghost. Even after getting here, he's still struggling. None of the ones sent here are decent folk anyway. Don't let him foul your eyes, sir." Hearing this, Hakvo Tuong stopped approaching and simply cautioned, "Be careful. These types did nothing but evil while alive. Don't let any slip-ups happen. Get 'em inside." As I watched Hakvo Tuong turn and vanish into the mist, my heart died with him. The mustached guard bowed him off, then turned back to kick me several times to vent his rage. The whip in his hand lashed me mercilessly. Soon there wasn't a single unscathed spot on my body. My soul was riddled with wounds and my face completely deformed. After venting his anger, the guard grabbed my chin and said coldly, "You damn dog, you almost ruined my business. Don't worry, once we're inside, I'll personally entertain you." I was thrown into the first level of hell, like a tattered rag. This level was called the Torture of 1,000 Needles. Every punishment was gruesome. Countless spirits were pinned with needles all over their bodies, looking like hedgehogs. Even here, they hadn't faded away, so their agonizing screams echoed endlessly. I shuddered and took a deep breath, using what strength I had left to wheeze out. "I really know NHU Yen. If you treat me like this and she finds out, she won't let you off." Of course, much of this was a bluff. NHU Yen didn't care about my death. She truly didn't want to see me again. If she did, she wouldn't have given me eternal life to force me to live in solitude in the mortal world. She was simply afraid I would die and come to the underworld to bother her again. Once past the gate, the guards were no longer afraid of me struggling. The mustached one, yes, I know he has no mustache, patted my face with a sinister smile. "You've got quite an imagination. Did you watch too many cheesy dramas in the living world and start believing them? You think you're worthy of dreaming about our queen?" He slapped my face aside, causing me to vomit a large cloud of ghostly essence. My body felt even more translucent. I was strapped to a torture rack. The guard smirked, pulling out a soul-severing needle, each one as long as my arm. "Try to endure this. There are 17 more levels of hell waiting. We'll take our time." He pulled out a needle and aimed it straight at my thigh. "Now that you're here, no matter how tough your bones are, they'll soften before me." The needle pierced my body. The sharp agony caused me to shake violently, completely beyond my control. Just then, a figure rushed over. "Wait!" The needle was pulled out. I breathed a sigh of relief and tried to open my eyes. The newcomer seemed to be a manager of this level. I remembered his name was Huang Vi. Years ago, when I was scared to death, he had stood beside NHU Yen, advising her, "Miss, this son-in-law is just young and ignorant. You don't need to be so harsh. Be careful not to hurt him." Hope flared up again. I prayed that after all these years, he still remembered me. "Chief Manager Huang, please save me." My voice was hoarse and barely audible after the torture, but I was certain Huang Vi heard me because he stared at me as if confirming something. Finally, the panic in his eyes made it clear. He recognized me. Before I could breathe a sigh of relief, he quickly looked away as if nothing had happened. An order just came down from above. They want to see this person's soul scattered with their own eyes. The people are coming. Wait a moment. Bitterness welled up inside me. It turned out even Huang Vi was in league with Chu Than and the priest. The spark of hope was extinguished. I could only laugh bitterly. NHU Yen, oh NHU Yen, this is the underworld under your command. How do those beneath you dare to cover the sky and act so lawlessly? I also didn't expect Chu Than to actually show up here. I didn't know whether to call him brave or cowardly. Not brave because he was afraid of leaving loose ends, afraid my long life would haunt him, so he had to see me vanish. Not cowardly because he dared to follow me even into the realm of the dead. Before long, Chu Than and the old priest arrived. To finalize the deal, they had left their mortal shells and come as souls. Entering the underworld for the first time, Chu Than was somewhat bewildered, sticking close to the priest. But seeing how friendly the priest was with the guards, he became arrogant. After all, he was the one paying the most. Chu Than took a needle from a guard and walked up to me gleefully. Counting gone, thank you. If not for you, I might never have enjoyed the pleasures of the wealthy. Money really can move gods and ghosts. With money, I can even take a stroll through hell. You've lived long enough. I'll enjoy the rest of your life for you. You can go in peace so that I can be at ease. I looked at him silently. Chuthan, did I not treat you well? A pointless question. If he had a conscience, he wouldn't have plotted this far. Chuthan laughed as if he'd heard the funniest joke. Ha 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 ha! You think you treated me well? I was your errand boy, wearing the clothes you threw away. I was forever the background for you to shine. You really think that was being good to me? I didn't argue. Facts proved that a white-eyed wolf can never be tamed. Years ago, I found Chuthan in a heavy snowstorm, wearing only a thin shirt. He had come from the countryside to the city, poor and unable to find work at the end of the year. I took him in. I didn't need a servant. I was used to living alone, but I felt sorry for him. I treated him like a brother. Whatever he asked for, I gave. His salary was much higher than average. Sadly, he never saw me as a brother, only as someone to take from. Perhaps because I indulged him too much, he thought he could be my equal, or even replace me. My biggest mistake was trusting him and telling him my secret. My silence only drove Chuthan wilder. Nothing left to say, right? Even you think so, don't you? You never saw me as a friend. Now, die! He stabbed the needle toward my heart. He truly wanted me gone instantly. The surrounding guards sensed something was wrong, but didn't stop him. Ghostly essence leaked from my mouth. My soul was becoming transparent, and my mind grew hazy. Chuthan continued to stab me frantically, specifically targeting my face, which he had already mangled. In my delirium, I seemed to see Nhu Yen walking toward me. She was as beautiful as ever, more beautiful than any woman I had met in my hundreds of years of life. Her sharp features were the kind that made people fall in love at a single glance. An illusion. It must be an illusion. She doesn't want to see me. But then, why were all the guards kneeling? Queen, why have you come in person? Huang Vi was terrified, prostrating himself and shaking like a leaf. Taking bribes from the living was a major taboo, and allowing the living to enter hell was even worse. Caught red-handed, there would be no good end for him. The priest's face changed color, and he immediately pulled the still frenzied Chuthan down to kneel with him. Nhu Yen's gaze swept over the crowd with a heavy pressure that made everyone afraid to look up. The eunuch behind her spoke in a shrill, harsh voice. If the queen hadn't come today, we wouldn't have known how bold you've become, committing such a heinous act. The two guards who escorted me bowed their heads, not daring to breathe. I wanted to say something, but my mind was a mess, and the pain made it impossible to make a sound. Would she recognize me? If she did, would she save me? Or would she, as she once said, throw me into boiling oil? Honestly, even if she did nothing, my soul was about to dissipate anyway. After a long silence, Nhu Yen spoke, her voice like cutting ice. Huang Vi, I gave you the first level of hell to manage. Is this how you work? Being called out, Huang Vi slammed his head against the ground even harder than I had pleaded with Chuthan. This lowly one knows his mistake. It was those two guards who brought the living here. I knew nothing about it. I was about to chase them away before you arrived. Despite sharing the profit, Huang Vi threw the others under the bus. The mustached guard countered immediately. This is your territory! If the living entered, it's because of your negligence! How can you blame others? Huang Vi hissed. You two were the ones who came up with the plan to squeeze money from the living. I was just dragged into it. I understood now. Nhu Yen had discovered her subordinates' shady dealings and came to catch them in the act. I just happened to be here. At this moment, I was an insignificant outsider, while the priest and Chuthan were the center of the storm. Looking at them like dogs fighting, Nhu Yen let out a cold snort. Enough talk. Since you're here, those two living souls can forget about returning. Detain them for trial. As for the rest of you, throw them into the animal realm. They shall never be human again. Hearing this, Huang Vi went numb, slumped on the ground with a face like ash. The two guards also collapsed. Chuthan finally realized he couldn't return to the living world and began to scream. I still have a lifespan! You have to follow the rules! He couldn't bear to lose the lifespan he'd stolen from me, nor the fortune he hadn't enjoyed yet. The priest, fearing for himself, tried to pull him back, but Chu Than, not knowing when to fear death, shook him off and stood up. I have to go back. Take me back now. The priest didn't dare use magic. He just closed his eyes and played dead. Chu Than grabbed the priest's collar. What are you doing? I gave you $1 billion! What kind of deal is this? I said I want to go back now! He didn't know that Nhu Yen hated noisy arguments above all else. In the next second, his body was flung away like a broken kite. As if by karma, he landed right on the table of torture tools. A soul-severing needle pierced him, a fatal blow. Only after tasting that sensation did he understand how agonizing it was. He began to wail. The eunuch waved a hand, and other guards stepped forward to gag Chu Than and pin him to the ground. After dealing with the group, Nhu Yen finally looked at me. I felt her gaze. It was very cold. The eunuch asked on her behalf, "Who are you? What is your name?" Huang Vi, desperate to avoid more trouble, interrupted. "He's just a stray dog who just died. Anyone who ends up here can't be good. I hope the mistress doesn't dirty her eyes with him." Nhu Yen frowned in annoyance. The eunuch barked, "I didn't ask you! Shut up!" I opened my mouth, but only a weak groan came out. Getting no clear answer, the eunuch stepped forward on Nhu Yen's behalf to check my injuries. He shook his head. "Mistress, this person's soul is about to dissipate. Nhu Yen was originally a good person. If she asked for an identity, it was to see if he could be saved or reincarnated." The eunuch immediately sent someone for the Book of Life and Death. While waiting, Chu then continued to struggle foolishly, not realizing the gravity of the situation. His mind was still on how he would enjoy himself once he returned to the living world. Soon, the book arrived. The eunuch approached me again. "What is your name?" I summoned my last bit of strength to whisper 2 words, a sound as small as a mosquito. "County No." The eunuch was someone I didn't recognize, likely a new trusted official. Hearing my name, he began to search the records. As the minutes passed, his expression changed, becoming strange. "This is impossible." Nhu Yen was not patient. She was hot-tempered, and her face already showed her irritation. "What is it?" The eunuch replied tremblingly, "Mistress, this person is not in the Book of Life and Death." Of course I wasn't, because that was Nhu Yen's own arrangement. She was the one who struck my name, forcing me to be immortal and wander the earth forever. I was in the living world. She was in the underworld, never to meet again. Perhaps she thought someone had dared to forge the records. Angered, she snatched the book herself. "Let me check. What is his name?" The eunuch replied, "County Engan." The moment she heard that name, Nhu Yen's pupils constricted violently. In an instant, she teleported right in front of me. Her slender hand grabbed my chin and lifted it up, wanting to see my face clearly. But that face had been... Chu Than had mangled my soul with the spirit needles until I was no longer recognizable. Nhu Yen's gaze was incredibly complex, as if she wasn't certain it was truly me. A second later, the strength in her hand tightened a bit more, and her aura became dark and gloomy. "Did you forget what I once said?" I certainly hadn't forgotten. On the day Nhu Yen released me to be reincarnated, she said if we ever met again, she would throw me into a vat of oil and hack me to pieces. I had no strength left to speak. I only slightly pulled my lips into a bitter smile. Perhaps I wouldn't even last long enough for her to strike. She pushed me away and coldly uttered a sentence. "Useless thing. I thought you would live quite well after leaving me. Turns out it only came to this." She was indeed satisfied. When I left, I never looked back. When we met again, she was still the high and mighty mistress of the underworld, while I was just a dissipating soul, messy and pathetic. Nhu Yen didn't let me die immediately. She ordered people to take me to the ghost physician for treatment. I thought she probably planned to keep me alive to torture me slowly. After all, Nhu Yen was that kind of person, elegant on the outside but venomous at heart. As the queen of the underworld, she had once been dumped by a mortal like me. Her pride surely couldn't swallow that. The treatment process was extremely painful. I didn't know if I was unconscious or awake, but dazed. For the first time, I realized that even souls can dream. I dreamed of the past between me and Nhu Yen, from when we first met, became close, fell in love, and then broke up. Back then, Nhu Yen went to the mortal world to travel and happened to meet me while I was suffering all the hardships of the world. In that era, starving to death was a very common thing, but I was lucky enough to catch her eye. Nhu Yen stayed by me and grew up with me. The person who first made my heart flutter was her. The first time I became a man was also with her. Nhu Yen hid her identity very well. It wasn't until I died of illness and went down to the underworld that I found out who she was. At that time, Nhu Yen was very confident, believing that since she had spent a short lifetime with me in the mortal world and we had been husband and wife, I should now stay in the underworld and continue to keep her company. Initially, I thought so too, but having grown used to living in the mortal world, I couldn't stand the confinement here. I couldn't accept that she was the queen of the underworld with too many men around her, and I especially couldn't accept her standing at the peak of power, subconsciously viewing me as a dependent. I wanted to leave, wanted to reincarnate, and continue a new journey. Nhu Yen was so angry her eyes turned bloodshot, and she screamed in rage, even dragging me to the gates of hell to intimidate me. Seeing my pathetic state, she finally softened her heart and nodded, agreeing to let me go. She only coldly uttered a short but cruel sentence, "Don't ever meet again." At that time, my mind was only focused on being reincarnated and escaping the underworld. I didn't understand the deep meaning behind her words. It wasn't until I reincarnated that I realized my memories of my previous life were still perfectly intact, and after I grew up, I didn't age, nor could I die. Nhu Yen had personally chosen a good family for me. The family assets left behind were enough for me to spend for a very, very long time. Only then did I realize that her saying she didn't want to see me again wasn't just a slip of the tongue in anger, but the truth. I naively believed it was true, and lived for 100 years in solitude, both afraid of death and afraid of being caught by her and thrown into the vat of oil to be hacked into 100,000 pieces, as she had said. Therefore, I always lived cautiously, watching every step, only fearing an accident would happen, only to step into the underworld once again, unexpectedly in the end. It was in a dream that I returned to my original residence. The surrounding city was extremely familiar. This was Nhu Yen's private domain, the palace of the underworld king. The bed beneath me was hers. It still carried her distinct fragrance, a deep scent like cedar in the winter sun. Aside from her, I had never smelled it on anyone else. The familiar scent enveloped me, bringing me a rare bit of peace. But that moment didn't last long. It was as if Nhu Yen had a tracking device on me. The moment I woke up, she returned. I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep, but she exposed me immediately with a cold voice. "Don't pretend anymore, you ugly thing. I know you're awake." I laughed bitterly to myself, thinking that before she used to look at my face all night without getting bored. Now she insulted me, calling me an ugly thing. Perhaps I truly had become so ugly that I was unbearable to look at. After all, Chuthin hadn't held back when he struck. I struggled to open my eyes and smiled faintly, my voice hoarse. "Why? Are you planning to throw me into the vat of oil and hack me 1,000 times? No rush." She pulled me up and said coldly, "The things this queen bestowed upon you, those 2 pieces of trash actually dared to take them away. You should witness their end with your own eyes." Her dark gaze made me shiver involuntarily. Was she planning to kill the chicken to warn the monkey first, then slowly torture me afterward? In the main hall, Chuthan and the old priest were tightly bound by soul-locking chains around their necks. Kneeling on the ground, Huangvi and the 2 guards who had escorted me were also present. The moment he saw me, Chuthan immediately remembered the kick from earlier and stumbled, falling to the ground, shouting loudly, "Count Yangon, what kind of trick are you playing?" I hadn't fully recovered. Walking here had drained all my strength, so I didn't bother with him. Nhu Yen was a bit perverse. At this moment, a strange look of interest flickered in her eyes, and the corners of her lips curled up wickedly. "County Nugan, how do you want to deal with them?" She was the one in power here, yet she asked for my opinion on this, making me daze for a moment. A feeling very much like an illusion surged in my heart. Because when we were husband and wife in the mortal world, no matter how big or small the matter, she would always ask for my opinion first. Unconsciously, I felt a pang of sorrow and replied softly, "It's up to you." Nhu Yen pulled me into a tight embrace, her voice carrying a bit of reproach. "Don't you remember how you died? They've all confessed. Now is the time for your revenge." Seeing that the relationship between me and Nhu Yen was not simple, Chu Than started going crazy again. "I knew long ago you weren't any good. You seduce any woman you can. I didn't expect that even after dying and becoming a ghost, you still wouldn't behave." Hearing this, Nhu Yen's expression immediately became extremely unpleasant. Clearly, her face was beautiful enough to overturn all living beings, but because her expression was so cold, the aura she exuded made others dare not have any thoughts. I understood why she was so upset. It wasn't because Chu then insulted me, but because he said I seduced women. Nhu Yen was inherently conservative and traditional to the bone. She always believed that once I belonged to her, whether alive or dead, I was hers, and no one else was allowed to touch me. Fortunately, after reincarnating throughout those 100 long years, because I didn't age and feared being discovered, I always lived a single life. If I hadn't, she might have truly grasped my weakness and made a scene. The old priest, seeing that Chu Than didn't know how to fear for his life, immediately kowtowed like a mortar pestle. "Mistress, I don't dare anymore." I was just greedy for money, lured by the sky-high price he offered, which is why I committed such a crime. I was only muddled for a moment. He is the mastermind. Chu Than leaped up and swung a hand to punch the old priest. "You were so happy when you took the money, and now you're planning to let me take the fall alone?" The official beside Nhu Yen shouted coldly, "Quiet! All of you played a part. No one escapes. Do you know who the person you harmed is?" Chu Than looked at me and sneered, "Just a monster who doesn't age or die. He's lived long enough. It's only right he gives his life and money to me and dies. That's what I deserve. I served him for 15 years. Originally, I didn't intend to argue with him about this, because anyone who hasn't had a new person won't know how to treasure the old. But seeing him be so blatantly arrogant, I truly couldn't hold it back anymore. Chu Than, if you hadn't met me years ago, would you have had 15 years of comfortable living? If I remember correctly, you said that if you couldn't earn money, you'd be forced to marry an old woman, bound in a poor marriage and worn down for life. Chu Than was choked for words for a moment, but quickly found an excuse. "You're the one who took me in and I put in the labor." I laughed in anger. "Your so-called labor was making me wash your clothes, peel fruit for you, and cook for you to eat? A person like you isn't fit to be a friend. You're only fit to be a beast of burden. Treat you a little well, and you immediately climb onto someone's head and neck." Chu Than was about to say something more when the official beside Nhu Yen spoke to remind him. "He is the 9th groom the mistress married. Do you think you have the status to insult him?" Chu Than was immediately silenced. He only saw my immortality and boundless wealth. He didn't bother to think about what I had to trade to get those things. Huang Vi's face was as gray as ash. When he recognized me, he must have thought that there was no longer any connection between me and Nhu Yen. So he pretended not to know me and let them harm me, thinking there would be no consequences. Now that everything was out in the open, his end probably wouldn't be much better than being reincarnated as a beast. Only then did I notice black and white impermanents standing silently in the corner of the hall. Both siblings' expressions were extremely unpleasant. Among them, black impermanence was the most innocent, dragged into this completely by accident. That day he had almost recognized me. Unfortunately, he wasn't careful enough. The 2 guards and the old priest were dealt with immediately. But I still said nothing, feeling neither pride nor satisfaction because I was also just one of Nhu Yen's toys. What was there to brag about? I never dared to underestimate Nhu Yen's methods. Those who had harmed me were all banished to hell to taste everything I had endured. Because of his carelessness, Black impermanence was also punished with 1 year of forced labor. I was forced to go to hell to witness the execution of the sentences. In the first level of hell, Chu Than was tied tightly to a torture platform, with thousands of soul-severing needles stuck all over him, making him look no different from a hedgehog. The executioners were very precise, not letting his soul scatter and purposely avoiding vital spots, causing him to be in extreme agony without being able to die. At this point, Chu then finally knew fear. He cried and begged me, "Count Eon, I was wrong! I know I was wrong! I was just momentarily possessed by a demon. I shouldn't have treated you like that. It's that I was jealous of you. Jealous because you're more handsome than me, because you have so much money you can't spend it all. I didn't want it to be like this. It's because you told me you were immortal." You know what a huge temptation that is for a normal person? Not just me. No one could resist it. I looked at him silently, my face expressionless. "I told you that because I trusted you. In 100 years in the mortal world, I never told a second person." Hearing this, Chu Than suddenly fell silent. I don't know if he truly repented, or if he suddenly realized how inhumane he had been. He betrayed my trust and kindness. Now, meeting his retribution was well-deserved. Murderers should naturally go to hell, let alone someone who conspired with dark arts to take my life. His crimes were compounded. I knew he would never leave this place again. I just didn't expect that a cruel person like him would have such a weak soul. He was completely incinerated in the second level of hell, his soul scattering amidst the sea of fire. The one who endured the longest was actually the old priest. He did indeed have talent. Otherwise, he couldn't have swapped my life with Chu Than's. He was destroyed in the 6th level of hell, the purgatory of evil ghosts. That place gathered countless wicked souls who could never be reincarnated. They had occupied that place for unknown years and were extremely ferocious. Whenever they saw a living soul wander in, they would immediately tear it apart. As for Huangvi and the 2 guards, they died in the 4th level of hell, fried in a vat of oil from the outside in. Once everything was settled, Nhu Yen turned her head to look at me, her eyes like burning fire. "You really are bold. Clearly, you aren't afraid at all. That's why, even though I threatened you so much, you still insisted on leaving." I lowered my head, not daring to let her see my ruined face. Nhu Yen knew how much I had always valued this face. Throughout 100 years in the mortal world, I dressed neatly and handsomely every day, which was also why many women surrounded me. And the reason Chu then said I seduced women, because in their eyes, there was only me, and no one bothered to look at him once. But I only did it to make myself happy and to kill time. It was never for anyone else. But what was the use of saying these things now? The others had been dealt with. It would be my turn soon. Hearing me say that, Nhu Yen seemed very angry and immediately flicked her sleeve and left. Hadn't she said herself that she would throw me into the oil vat and hack me into 100 pieces? Nhu Yen's close eunuch didn't follow immediately, but sighed and looked at me. "Young master, she loves you that much. Do you truly not understand, or are you pretending not to understand?" I was bewildered and didn't understand. The eunuch sighed again. "The mistress never let you go. She couldn't bear to let you go through birth, aging, illness, and death. Nor could she bear to see you live in poverty. The years you lived in the mortal world, your life being extremely smooth, was not a coincidence. But do you know how the mistress lived? She dismissed all the servants around her. Whenever she was free, she would go to the mortal world to find you. Her nature's proud and you are stubborn and cold. In the end, for all those years, you didn't meet even once. Do you know? Striking your name from the book of life and death was against the rules. Furthermore, your eternal lifespan was paid for by the mistress, using her own mortal lifespan to make up the difference." As I listened to the official in front of me say every word, my heart was in a turmoil of 100 emotions. Nhu Yen had gone far by now. Seeing the eunuch hadn't caught up, she shouted grumpily, "Whose dog are you?" The eunuch was startled and immediately bowed his head to follow her. I wandered alone in the underworld, thinking about my future. Nhu Yen probably wouldn't actually kill me, but my body in the mortal world was smashed to pieces, completely shattered. I definitely couldn't go back. If I didn't stay here, the only choice was to reincarnate. It's just that now I wasn't sure if I still had the ability to reincarnate, or if that love that had been stuck for 100 years could still be rebuilt. It cannot be denied that in that lifetime, NHU Yen and I had a very happy time. But human memories and feelings, after all, have limits. For 100 years, I had lived alone, although occasionally, because of my immortality, I frequently remembered her. Did any real feelings remain? I didn't know either. Right now, my mind was very hazy. I don't know how much time passed. I was so tired that I just picked a quiet corner and sat there dazed. Suddenly, a hem of a jet black robe appeared in front of me. It was NHU Yen. I looked up. She was still, as before, high and mighty, but her expression now was like a deserted puppy, looking extremely aggrieved. "What are you thinking? Thinking of a way to abandon me once again?" I had never seen NHU Yen with that expression before, as if I were the cruel one who had discarded her. I regained my composure and looked away, no longer looking at her, and whispered softly, "Can I still reincarnate? After all, my name has been struck from the Book of Life and Death. It's impossible. Someone whose name is not in the Book of Life and Death absolutely cannot go to be reincarnated." The answer was not outside my expectations, so the only way was to stay in this place. Seeing me silent, NHU Yen became angry, her eyes bloodshot. "You have no other choice now. Even at this point, you still don't want to choose me?" I didn't know what to say. Several times I opened my mouth, but no words came out. NHU Yen, provoked by me, left once again. Only this time, she didn't threaten me, but left a sentence. "You still have another choice, to become a wild ghost wandering this underworld. If you happen to meet some blind guards and are mistakenly caught as an escaped evil ghost, you will be thrown straight into hell." I hurried to catch up and grabbed her sleeve. NHU Yen didn't refuse nor push me away, perhaps afraid I was pretending again. That night, I was tightly entwined by her. NHU Yen was like someone who had been hungry for too long. Once she got a bite, she absolutely refused to let go. I hadn't fully recovered and couldn't stand the torment. Several times, I almost had my soul scattered by her whenever I tried to refuse. She had a very logical reason. "Now I only have one man. You. If you don't agree to have children with me, who will inherit my throne? This place is too dull. The mortal world is much more interesting. Later, I will let go of everything and travel the mortal world with you." NHU Yen successfully evoked the beautiful memories between us. I blurted out, "Can we go back to the mortal world and live like a normal couple?" Only in that way could I feel the truth, feel that she truly loved me and was not a high and mighty queen of the underworld. Under the lamp, she bit my neck and replied instantly and refreshingly, "Yes." I lifted her face, facing her peach blossom eyes that were overflowing with desire, and asked softly, "Didn't you say I couldn't reincarnate anymore?" NHU Yen paused slightly, her gaze avoiding mine. Clearly, she was hiding something. It turned out she intentionally wanted to make me crumble. I no longer had the mind to think about anything else, letting myself and her drown in the haze. Later, NHU Yen gave birth to child after child for me. Each cry of a newborn was a testament to the days we lived again in each other, bit by bit. But no matter how long time was, I never let go, hoping to wait for the day the old dream returned. When we returned to the mortal world, she took on a new identity, becoming my childhood friend. We grew up together, experienced the pure and innocent years together, then entered marriage, living simple days full of love. Every sunset, we sat next to each other, silently watching the sun sink below the horizon, as if watching a whole lifetime again. NHU Yen said that for the 100 years I was absent, she was always there, silently watching every step I took. It turns out the person who was always behind me, protecting me in my previous 9 incarnations, was always her.